And now let's hear some comments from our next speaker, who is a professor in the Faculty of Law in the Hebrew University. He's also director of the Institute of Criminology in here. He received a PhD in sociology and anthropology from the University of Haifa. He received also many prizes, and among them we have a Fatal Prize for Excellence in Legal Research and Criminology in 2018, Best Article Prize of the Israeli Organization of Law and History, and the Berg Prize of the Hebrew University. As he is a researcher in the field of policing and divided societies and preserving law and order, I think it will be fascinating to listen to his conclusion and on point of view of the paper that were being here presented. So, welcome, Professor Badi Hasisi.
When I was asked to comment on this topic, so I decided to divide my response into two sections. I will refer some of Naama's talks, and then I will elaborate on a project that I'm leading with my colleague Monahuri Kasabri from the School of Welfare here in the Hebrew, on a project that we are doing on East Jerusalem with the youth. So first of all, finally we find something that both Arabs and Jews agree on, that this city sucks, right? This with lots of, so this is great. Like, start in a divided society. It usually identify that people have a lot of disagreement, but it's when it's come to divided societies, it's about really disagreement, but it's not just that people disagree on some topic, but there is a huge and significant perception of reality. And just the word public order, keeping public order as, main necessity for people, right, to live. So in whose order, right? This is like an order of someone is oppression of the other. So this kind of thing identify the relationship that when you try to solve some trivial issues, they tend to be huge problem in setting of divided cities and dividing society. The other aspect that related to that is the threat. Threat is there. Threat is the big issue. Everything is calibrated about the threat. When the threat is high, every move, every action is being weighted with this threat. When the threat is down, suddenly you can do things, and when the threat is high, even small things that we usually can apply will become very, very tough to do. And this really, I can tell you from my experience in criminology, that when I track police officer reaction, when they are in low threat and high threat, they are different setting. Now, threat could be objective, like someone is coming with a knife or coming with a pistol, but also threat could be perceptions. So these also influence. So threat is really big issue that can that influence many of the realities that we have here, both in East and West Jerusalem, and influence the way that state agencies and civil society cope with a lot of issues that Naaman mentioned. So if we try to map the problems, and most of them are, Naaman didn't mention any political problems here, right? She didn't mention something about some political aspiration or some political fulfillment of this part or other part, right? It was about living in a secure community, living like a normal citizen in any city around the world. And when you see what's going on in the East Jerusalem, you see poor facilities, poor infrastructure, insecurity that characterize those communities. And the west side, Jerusalem is really, I was speaking to a friend of mine, Professor Oren Barak, about both of us live in this city. We see that, this city has a lot of issues also on the west side of Jerusalem, not just in the east side. But it's, and I guess those neighboring, those neighbors that on the edge, like here in the Givat Sarfatit, other that have Arab community near them, are also facing those threat perception from being attacked or being. So threat is really a big issue with the Jewish neighborhoods. Now the dilemma here with this situation is you can speak about how did we get to this reality, but the issue is how we solve it. And we try to deal with that. You realize very fast that we are talking here about the presence of government. You know, Albert Einstein, when he spoke about, he said once that the peace is not, we don't have war, but there's that the presence of justice and the presence of law and order. And he summarized, it's the presence of government. Like if you don't have government in your reality, you are deprived from basic needs. Now the problem with these areas that there is a conflict about the government, right? There is no government. And the issue also turned when some of the initiative to do something about turning these neighborhoods to be better, it could be affiliated with some negotiation with state agencies, and this could be framed that this is not, you are giving some recognition or legitimacy for the government that you have issues with. So this is quite a dilemma, because if you, if I want to give you safety, I give you a police officer, right? Yeah. This is what we do in democratic, right? You want safety? You need a police officer. You cannot handle conflict, not anymore. 200 years ago, you could handle conflict within the community, not anymore. Today, you have a lot of problems, a lot of issues. You need a police officer to come. If you have an issue, you call the police come, what's going on, guys? And he solves. This you have. Now, to have a police officer entering such spheres, it's a statement. Okay, it's the same in Northern Ireland. Think about like in the 60s or the 70s, asking RUC police officers to come to Catholic neighborhood to solve some intimate problem within the community. This has like issues, like it's inviting the enemy within, right? So this is really big issue. So my take on that is that we cannot escape from letting those agents in order to improve the reality of the communities. That doesn't have to mean it's a recognition of political agenda, or no, but rather that we see the value of welfare. And I really like it that it's who led this project were women. Because if men would lead this project, they will, I guess, this is my guess, they would be, I guess that the political issue would have more salient. Like, men would never raise the issue jogging at night that they're unsafe, right? But my wife would do that because she raised this issue. So I think that's more welfare approach that suggests that what we need is to give these people a reasonable life condition without dealing with the big problems that sometimes they are unsolved. Like I cannot solve, like, look at us. We are almost three elections and we cannot put a government, right? So look how efficient is politician in this country, and I think it's in other divided countries as well. So the welfare approach would be that you be concerned with advancing the life and the life condition of these people, okay, by collaborating with agencies, by being open to deal with all the problems. A lot of the problems that we saw here, incivilities, right? We saw the garbage and the graffiti and the youth, that these issues can be handled. There is a lot of agencies that can deal with that. I just mentioned the police, but also a lot of agencies in the municipality and other offices, of course, can lead such a reform. Now, I'm not naive. I know that there is a lot of problem that could be an obstacles, and you're not always aware what are really the intention, right, of the other side about how concerned they are with the actual welfare. But I think that it's much easier to increase welfare than solve a big political problem, right? It's much, and in that sense, I think that if you want to change something, you should be part of the solution rather than just part of the problem. And that say that it will be also a good move for residents of East Jerusalem to be more active in the municipality and the election to the municipality and have more power. So in order to say, I want resources, I want my reality to change. Now, some would say this might be problematic. I hear all these constraints, but I just think that if we take the welfare approach, that we want to make the life of people better, this could be doable in many stages. You know, this is right, definitely the route when you know that it's not like we're having a political solution tomorrow morning. This country, this city has been divided for 50 years. And it could be this condition for another 50 years, okay? So what you do at the meanwhile? We wait until they solve where exactly will be the Palestinian government. Good luck with that. Now there are people that they are suffering, having low quality of life, and we have to give them a solution. Now I see that the solution might be, the welfare approach is much more robust when it's motivated and it's led by the civil society. And this is what make this kind of initiative to be promising. And joint active of civil society from both sides, it's also a reflection that the relationship are in good track. Because if you know some of the research on civil society, usually in divided society, when you have separate civil society, you know that something is wrong. When you see, it's like with political parties, when you see that there is a joint project, you know that this is a good indication of the relationship. So I think this is also a good signal, the joint collaboration between both groups from a different side of the city. One, of course, could question the composition of this group if we saw let's say a comprehensive perspective of the problems, but that's of course true for any paper that you write. So, but I guess what Namat described here is really hit the spot with the main issues raised with the. Do you have more time? 2 minutes? Okay. So in 2 minutes, I will speak about the project that Namat, great job for you and your team. Now, I will give an example. 2 years ago, prosecutors from here in Jerusalem came to me and said, listen, we are having a problem with a lot of Palestinian youth. They throw stones on cars, and then I have to prosecute them, and I see that they go to jail, and I see cycle of violence later on because they become criminals, and this is bad. We don't want to do that. And at that time, I was a member of a committee that recommended of diversion, that we should take youth from the criminal justice system out. And I said, let's follow. And I said, okay, let's do that. And we started a big project here in East Jerusalem, giving some treatment to youth involved in stone throwing. And we did it exactly what Namat described here. We started with treating those youth to give them, because time for high risk, free time is a devil, right? There is a say like that in English, right? It's like you don't want them to have a free time. So we captured their time. We extended the day in school that's become longer. We give them jobs so that they will be, and then we try to treat a lot of the problems that Namat described on incivilities in the neighborhood, and we did that with the collaboration of many actors, and starting the community, of course, and leaders of the community, but municipality, the police, prosecution, it was like this kind of situation. It's like when you have a syndrome, right? You have a lot of problems. And in order to cope with them, you need a comprehensive treatment. And you cannot treat it with just one segment, but rather with a comprehensive treatment. Thank you very much.